My name is Kevin Globius. I'm the Director of Nutrition for Biozyme Incorporated. Today we're going to talk about our Reproductive Success Report. This is something that's new and very exciting for us here at Biozyme. Historically, we've featured the brand Conceptaid over the years, and we've had a lot of good customer feedback in terms of what this product is doing for their reproduction. We would like to thank specifically Dr. Lindsay Whitaker for her efforts in helping compile this data, along with several other members of our research team here at Biozyme. So the Conceptaid line consists of several products, free choice minerals for various feeding situations across the U.S. It is regarded as one of the premier breeding minerals in the industry, and it contains a natural prebiotic called Amerferm that helps increase the digestibility, the intake, and the nutrient absorption of your animals to have a positive effect on reproductive performance. And really the overall goal of this project was to quantify the feedback we've had from customers over the years in terms of Vitaferm Conceptaid's impact with the Amerferm on reproduction within the beef industry. We want to talk a little bit about kind of the methods that we used in this research project. Essentially, we reached out to our customer base, those customers who are keeping calving records, conception rate records, and weaning weight data. And we summarized all of that data, compiled it through the database, and set up a way that we could compare that to the kind of the industry standards or industry averages that's reported by the different external university sources. When it comes to data collection, this particular project, we had records on 4,934 animals, a fairly significant number of animals in the industry. The data came from 16 different ranches across 9 different states. There was 5 different breeds of cattle represented from both purebred and commercial herds. We wanted to first look at the database and see, does this cow herd that we are reporting today represent, is it similar to what the industry would normally see? So when we look at the reproductive success database statistics, there was 72.9% of the animals in this group, mature cows, 3 years old and older. There was 13.3% of the animals were replacement heifers. Another 13.7% of the animals were 2-year-old heifers. 27.4% of the animals in this project were bred through artificial insemination, and 72.6% natural service. So very comparable to what folks would look at in the industry today. No large apparent differences there versus what we would consider is normal for the industry. We then took that data and we needed to benchmark the animals that are represented in the Conceptaid group against these external data sources. And so the sources that were chosen were the Texas Cow-Calf Standard Performance Analysis, or SPA data, Northern Great Plains Standard Performance Analysis. That included South Dakota, Nebraska, Montana, Minnesota, Iowa, Kansas, Wyoming, and North Dakota. And then the Cow Herd Appraisal Performance Software, or the CHAPS data, what they provide for benchmarks, as well as the Oklahoma Cow-Calf Standard Performance Analysis. So a fairly significant database that we're comparing this information with was used to get a benchmark to see how does the data that we collected compare with what we would consider an industry average. So in order to get that industry average, there's several ways to do this. We took the industry averages for conception rate, calving percentage, and weaning weight. They were calculated by averaging the reported values from the sources we just talked about. And so this slide just kind of represents what those reported values were. We looked at first conception rate, which is the percentage of females that had conceived at preg check, and the industry average of those 4 sources was 91.1%. And when we look at the 16 ranches that were reported in our database, we saw that the Conceptaid animals fed Conceptaid through the breeding period had a 94% conception rate, so about a 3% improvement. So one of the things we looked at within the data collected was some of the regional differences. For example, if we look at Texas SPA data, their data would suggest that the average conception rate would be 88.8%. When we look within the Conceptaid database at cows specifically from Texas reports, the pregnancy rate that we saw in our herds was 96.2. So it really goes to show that regardless of whether you're in North Dakota or you're in Texas, with the cow herds that we had in our database, that we saw significant improvements across the country. Another example of this would be looking at data from Oklahoma. When we look at Oklahoma specifically, the data there would show an 89.4% conception rate. Of the Conceptaid herds within Oklahoma, we saw a 93.8% conception rate. So once again, regardless of where you're located at, it's some pretty strong feedback that Conceptaid is working every day to help improve your reproductive performance. One of the additional things that we looked at within our database was Conceptaid's effect on calving rate. So calving rate by definition is the number of females that were bred versus the number of cows that actually calved. The industry average for this is 87.8%. So we saw in our results with calving rate a 93.6% calving rate compared to the industry numbers at 87.8%. So a nice impact there as well. Essentially what this means is not only we're getting more cows bred earlier, but we're keeping the cows bred all the way through calving. And then one of the final things we looked at is the effects of weaning weight. Obviously, when you get a cow bred earlier in the breeding cycle, that calf has the opportunity to have more days, gaining 2 to 3 pounds per day. So that's an advantage. When we look at the industry numbers, the weaning weight reported across the 4 different reference articles is 531.7 pounds. And when we look at the Conceptaid data on average weaning weights across the 10 ranches that had reported their weaning weights, the average weaning days, these are unadjusted, the average weaning date was 199 days. And females averaged 576.7 pounds. Males averaged 605.1 pounds. And so the overall average weaning weight of the cow herds that bred on Conceptaid was 590.9 pounds compared to 531.7. So what does the data tell us? If we look at some conclusions that our research team has drawn, we can attribute the improvements in conception rate to the increased volatile fatty acids that are produced from improving digestibility. That ultimately leads to more energy for the animal from Amaferm. We can also see in those regional data in some of the more mature and harder to digest forages, warm season forages, an impact of the microbial protein benefit, especially for those cows in the native ranges and southern regions that are typically lower in protein. Another thing that we can see in this data is that the improvements in calving rate can also be attributed to the increased energy and improved utilization of feed with Amaferm. So overall, we're ensuring a more adequate supply of nutrient availability. And finally, the third thing we looked at when looking at weaning weights, it's easy to associate those weaning weight effects with getting cattle bred earlier, and also from increased milk production and milk fat, as we have previously reported and documented in several studies with Amaferm on dairy operations. Kind of the final component is looking at the economic value that Conceptaid with Amaferm is bringing to the table for a producer. When you look at reproductive efficiency and total pounds of calves weaned, these are the 2 greatest contributors to economic successes on ranches today. So with the data that we collected, we're able to see that for every 100 cows in a herd, Conceptaid adds an advantage of $13,369 on just increased calf production alone. So $133.69 per cow, not including any improvements in animal health or reduced supplemental feed costs. How we calculated that, with Conceptaid, we would have had 93.6 calves born with an average weaning weight of 590.9 pounds per calf. That gives you 55,308 pounds at weaning time. And if you take that times the $1.55 a pound that was reported at the time the study was finished in early November, that gives you a gross dollar sales of $85,727 per 100 cows. And then if we compare that back to what we saw reported in the industry averages, you would have had 87.8 calves born live at 531.7 pounds for a total of 46,683 pounds weaned. And when you take that times the $1.55, you get a result of $72,358. So to summarize, if we really look at the three things that were measured in this project, the impact on conception rate was 2.9% improvement. The increase in calving rate was a 5.8% improvement in calving rate. And the increase in weaning weight was 59.2 pounds. The total added value was $133.69 per cow. And this does not include improved animal health or reduced supplemental feed costs. One of our goals with this project is to keep it an ongoing project. We are reaching out to customers and prospective clients that keep good records, and we would like you to share those records with us so that we can continue to build upon this. In 2017, we had roughly 5,000 cows involved in the study, and we would like to continue to grow this database. So please reach out to vitafirm.com or contact your ASM for more information on how to get involved. We're also including in the presentation today some links to our external data sources. Feel free to reach out to us. We'll share those with you so that you can look at those in more detail on where this information is coming from. So with that, we're going to wrap up. We're really excited about this new data and this new information. We think it'll really help when that producer comes in and is questioning the value of Conceptaid. When you get into those pricing situations where Amifirm has a cost to it, we now can give you a value to that cost. Keep in mind that a cow only consumes roughly 2 bags of mineral per year, so that $133 per cow advantage at a $1.55 calf price essentially needs to get divided by 2 bags of mineral when you're sitting down and comparing 2 minerals in the feed store. So appreciate your time and thank you.